My dear soul, it is I, Jesus, who comes to you in this moment of quietude. I know the day has been long, that your heart carries worries and your mind cannot find rest. I see you there, lying in your bed, seeking the sleep that seems to flee. And I want you to know that you are not alone. You never have been. Today, I want to tell you a special story. A story about a river I knew well. A river that had the power to carry away all anxiety, all pain, all the weight that the human heart can bear. This river was not ordinary, not just flowing water, but something much deeper and more sacred. Close your eyes slowly. Let your shoulders relax. Release the tension you carry in your chest. Breathe with me, slowly and deeply. Breathe in the peace I want to give you. Breathe out all the worries of the day. I am here with you in this moment, in this sacred space where we can be together. Allow my voice to be like a balm for your weary soul. Let my words touch your heart gently, like a gentle breeze that calms the troubled seas of life. You don't need to carry alone the burdens you brought to this night. I am here to share that weight with you. When I walked the earth, I met many people who, just like you now, sought peace for their nights. People who worked hard during the day, who worried about tomorrow, who carried pain in their chest and thoughts that wouldn't stop spinning. For them and for you, I brought a promise. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. This story began on a golden afternoon, when the sun was starting to set behind the mountains of Galilee. I was sitting by a river that few knew about, a special place that the Father had prepared for moments like this. And it was there that I discovered something wonderful about the power of flowing water and faith that moves mountains. May this story be like a gentle river that carries away your anxiety, that heals the wounds of the soul and brings the rest you seek so much. Take a deep breath once more and come with me on this journey of peace. It was an afternoon, like so many others, when I was walking through the hills of Galilee. My feet knew well those beaten earth paths, and my heart always found peace in the simplicity of that region. But on that day, something different caught my attention. A gentle sound of flowing water came from a direction I had never explored. Following the sound, I found a small valley hidden between two hills, and there it was, a river of crystal clear waters that shone with a special light. It wasn't just the sunlight reflecting on the surface, but something deeper, more sacred. The waters seemed to dance with their own joy, singing a melody that only the heart can hear. I sat on the bank of that river and immediately felt something extraordinary. A peace that knew no limits began to envelop my being. It was as if all the worries of the world simply dissolved into the air. There, in that secret place, I understood that the Father had prepared something special for all His children who seek rest. I dipped my hands into the water and felt a warmth that didn't come from temperature, but from something much deeper. It was as if the very essence of divine love was flowing through those waters. Each drop that touched my skin carried away a memory of pain, a worry, a heavy burden. It was then that I understood the purpose of that river. It wasn't just flowing water, but a gift from the Father to all His children who arrive tired at the end of the day. A place where the soul can rest, where the heart can find the peace that the world cannot give. You are with me in this river now, my dear soul. Feel the cool water touching your feet. See how it gently carries away all the tensions you carried today. You don't need to force anything, just let it happen. Allow my words to be like this water that washes and renews. While I remained there, sitting on the bank, I began to understand that this river had a special power. It not only refreshed the body, but healed the soul. Each person who approached with a sincere heart would find exactly what they needed. For some, it would be forgiveness. For others, healing. For you, in this moment, it is the deep and restorative rest you seek so much. The river whispered stories of people who had already passed by their stories of sleepless nights that became mornings of hope, of broken hearts that were restored, of agitated minds that found calm. Each story was unique, but all had something in common: the transformation that happens when we surrender completely to divine love. You also have your story, and it is precious to me. I know each night you spent awake, each worry you carry, each tear you shed, and I want you to know that none of them went unnoticed. Each of your sighs reached my ears, each prayer was heard, even when you thought you were speaking alone. In this river, your story meets mine. Your pains mix with my love, your worries dissolve in my peace. It's not magic, it's something much more real. It's the power of divine love transforming lives, healing hearts, bringing hope where there was despair. While I contemplated the waters of that sacred river, I saw approaching a woman I recognized immediately. It was Mary, who had followed me on many of my journeys. But at that moment, she carried a weight I had never seen in her eyes. Her steps were slow, as if each movement was an effort, and her countenance showed the weariness of many nights without rest. "Master," she said, with a voice that could barely hide the suffering, "I can no longer sleep. Worries consume my mind like fire, and fear of tomorrow steals today's peace from me. My heart is heavy, and I feel as if I carry the world on my shoulders." I invited her to sit with me on the riverbank. Her story was familiar. How many times had I heard similar words from other weary hearts? She told me about her long and empty nights, about the thoughts that spun endlessly, about the anxiety that consumed her like a constant shadow. "Mary," I said, placing my hand gently on hers, "do you see this river? It has flowed here for a long time, always the same, always different. It never stops, never gets tired, never worries about what's to come. It just flows, trusting that it will reach its destination." I ask her to look at the waters. "Your worries are like leaves that fall on the surface of this river. They may float for a while, but the current always carries them away. They are not part of the river, just passing visitors." Then I invited Mary to put her feet in the water. At first, she hesitated, but when she felt the perfect temperature and the gentleness of those special waters, her eyes filled with tears. They weren't tears of sadness, but of relief. It was as if something that was trapped inside her finally found a way out. "What are you feeling?" I asked gently. "It's as if all my worries were being carried away by the current," she replied, with wonder in her voice. "I can see them going away, as if they had never really been mine," I explained. To Mary, that the river not only carried away worries, but also brought something in return: peace, hope, rest. When we surrender our burdens to the current of faith, we discover that we were never meant to carry them alone. While she remained with her feet in the water, I began to pray for her, but not with complicated words or elaborate rituals. I simply spoke with the Father as one who converses with a dear friend, asking that the peace that dwells in the river would also dwell in Mary's heart. And then something wonderful happened. Mary began to yawn. It wasn't the forced yawn of someone trying to sleep, but that natural and pleasant yawn that comes when the body finally allows itself to relax. Her shoulders relaxed, her breathing became deeper and more rhythmic. "Can I sleep here?" she asked, her voice already drowsy. "Of course," I replied, "but remember that the river is always with you." Even when you return home, even when you lie in your bed, the waters of peace will continue flowing in your heart. They never stop, never dry up, never abandon you. Mary fell asleep right there on the riverbank, with her feet still in the water. Her sleep was deep and restorative, the first in weeks. And when she woke up, hours later, her face had a different light. Anxiety had been replaced by serene confidence, fear by love, worry by hope. You too can have this experience, my dear soul. Put your feet, even if only in your imagination, in this sacred river. Feel how your worries are carried away by the current. Allow rest to come naturally, like a gift, like a present from the Father to you. The river is still here, still flowing, and you are always welcome on its banks. In the days that followed that first encounter, the river began to reveal more of its secrets. I discovered that it not only carried away worries, but also had the capacity to bring healing to very deep wounds, those that even the best doctors couldn't reach. It was on a golden morning that a man named Peter came to me. He wasn't the Peter you know from the scriptures, but another Peter, a merchant who had lost everything in a failed business. His heart was broken, not just from the material loss, but from the shame and feeling of failure that consumed him. "Master," he said with a trembling voice, "I feel as if I have a stone in my chest. I can't breathe properly. I can't sleep. I can't live anymore. The weight of guilt is slowly killing me." I looked at Peter and saw not just a broken man, but a precious soul who had forgotten his own worth. I took him to the river and asked him to observe the current. "Do you see how the water flows?" I asked. "It doesn't stop at obstacles. When it encounters a stone, it simply goes around it. When it encounters a branch, it carries it along or leaves it on the bank. It doesn't fight against difficulties, it just accepts them and continues on its way." Peter looked at the water with tired eyes. "But Master, my stones are too big. My mistakes are too enormous to be carried by the current." I smiled tenderly and asked him to put his hands in the water. "Peter, let me tell you a secret about this. River, it doesn't see the size of obstacles. It only sees the need to flow. And when someone surrenders completely to its current, they will discover that there is no stone too big, no mistake too grave, no guilt too heavy that cannot be transformed." When Peter put his hands in the water, something extraordinary happened. He began to cry, but they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of liberation. It was as if all the guilt, all the shame, all the weight he carried was being washed away by the sacred waters. "I can feel it," he whispered. "I can feel the stone moving. It's no longer in my chest. It's being carried away." I explained to Peter that the river not only carried away bad things, but also brought good things in their place. When you free yourself from guilt, you will discover that there is room for forgiveness. When you free yourself from shame, you will find a place for dignity. When you free yourself from failure, you will see that there is a new opportunity waiting for you. We spent that entire morning by the river. Peter not only put his hands in the water, but allowed himself to enter completely. And while the current flowed round his body, he felt as if he was being renewed, as if he was being born again. "Master," he said, with a voice I had not heard before, a light voice full of hope, "I feel as if I could sleep for the first time. In months, I feel as if I could breathe again." And it was true. The transformation that happened that day was as real as the water that flowed in the river. Peter not only found relief for his insomnia, but discovered a new reason to live. The weight he carried had not just diminished, It had been completely replaced by a lightness he hadn't known since childhood. You too can experience this transformation, my dear soul. No matter how heavy the stone you carry in your chest, no matter how deep the wound that won't heal, no matter how old the guilt that consumes you, the river is here, flowing with the same power as always, ready to receive your burdens and give you, in return, the peace you seek so much. Feel the current touching your skin. Allow it to carry away not just today's worries, but also the old pains you carry. Let the healing power of these waters reach the deepest places of your being, those places you thought could never be healed. The river makes no distinction between great and small sufferings. For it, everything is equally important. Everything deserves to be healed. Everything can be transformed. Your pain, your anxiety, your insomnia, your worries, all of them are known by the river, and all of them can be carried away by its gentle but powerful current. Take a deep breath and allow this healing to happen. It already began the moment you decided to listen to this story. It continues now as you relax and surrender to the healing power of divine love. As the days passed, the river continued to reveal its wonders. I discovered that its waters not only healed recent wounds, but also had the power to reach the oldest pains, those that came from childhood, those that seemed to have grown roots so deep that no one believed they could be removed anymore. It was on a quiet afternoon that an elderly woman arrived at the riverbank. Her hair was white as snow, but her eyes carried a sadness that seemed to be decades old. She walked slowly to where I was sitting and, without saying a word, began to cry. "My name is Anne," she finally said, with a voice that trembled with emotion. "I am 70 years old, and I have never slept a full night since I was a child. Carrying this pain for so long has tired me, Master. I am exhausted, not just in body, but in soul." I asked Anne to sit beside me, and she began to tell me her story. When she was little, she had lost her parents very early, and the trauma of that loss had planted a seed of fear in her heart that grew and spread like a weed. Throughout her life, she had tried to pull out this weed, but it always came back, always found a way to steal her peace. "Anne," I said, looking at the waters that flowed tranquilly, "do you see how this river is not in a hurry? It doesn't try to force its way, doesn't fight against the banks, doesn't despair when it encounters curves. It simply flows, trusting that it will reach the sea at the right time." She looked at me with curious eyes. "But Master, my pain is so old, so deep. How can it be that simple waters have power over something that not even the years could heal?" Smiled tenderly and asked her to observe the river more carefully. "Anne, these are not simple waters. They come from the Father's heart, and when something comes from the Father's heart, there is no limit to its power. But there is a secret. They don't force healing, they offer it, and they can only heal what we are willing to surrender." I invited Anne to put her feet in the water, and when she did, something extraordinary happened. She began to talk about her childhood, about the pain of loss, about the fear she had carried for so many years. But as she spoke, her voice began to change. The bitter tone was being replaced by something softer, gentler. "It's as if I were telling someone else's story," she said, with amazement. "The pain is still there, but it doesn't hurt me anymore. It's as if it had been wrapped by something greater, something stronger." I explained to Anne that the river didn't erase memories, but transformed them. When we surrender our pains to the waters of healing, they don't disappear, but they become part of our victory story. What was once an open wound becomes a scar that tells a story of overcoming. We spent that entire afternoon talking. Anne told me about all the sleepless nights, about all the fears that had tormented her, about all the times she had lost hope. And as she spoke, the river waters kept touching her feet, carrying away, layer by layer, decades of accumulated pain. When the sun began to set, Anne did something she hadn't done in a long time. She smiled. It wasn't a forced or polite smile, but a genuine smile that came from a deep place in her heart. "Master," she said, "I feel as if I had been born again, as if all this time I had lived under a dark cloud, and now, finally, the sun appeared." And slept that night beside the river, and her sleep was deep and restorative. For the first time in 70 years, she slept through the night without waking up once, without nightmares, without insomnia. And when she woke up the next morning, she discovered that something had permanently changed inside her. You too can experience this deep transformation, my dear soul. No matter how long you've carried your pains, no matter how deep your heart's wounds are, no matter how many nights you've spent awake, the river is here with the same power as always, ready to touch the deepest parts of your being. Allow these sacred waters to reach not just today's worries, but also yesterday's pains. Let them touch the secret places of your heart, those places you thought could never be healed. Divine love knows no limits of time or space. It can reach any wound at any moment. As the days passed by the sacred river, more and more people came seeking the healing and rest that its waters offered. Each story was unique, but all had something in common: the transformation that happened when they surrendered completely to the healing power of divine love. It was on a starry night that I fully understood the purpose of that river. I was alone, contemplating the waters that shone under the moonlight, when I felt the Father's presence more intensely than ever. It was as if he were there, sitting beside me, sharing with me the deepest secrets of creation. "My son," I heard his voice in the gentle wind that caressed the river's surface. "This river is a gift for all my children who have grown weary of carrying life's burdens alone. But there is something more that needs to be revealed," I asked the Father what he wanted to show me, and he directed my attention to the constantly flowing waters. "Do you see how the river never stops? Do you see how it is always present, always available, always ready to receive and heal? Such is my love for each of my children." I understood then that the river was not just a physical place, but a representation of the Father's eternal love for each person who seeks peace and rest. Its waters flow constantly, not just in that hidden valley, but in the heart of each person who opens themselves to receive divine healing. "But Father," I asked, "how can people have access to this river when they cannot physically come here?" His answer was simple and profound. "The river is wherever there is a sincere heart-seeking peace. It flows through prayer, through faith, through trusting surrender. When someone lies in their bed and seeks rest, the river is there. When someone closes their eyes and surrenders their worries to my care, the waters of healing begin to flow." That night, I had an extraordinary vision. I saw millions of people throughout the world, in all eras, lying in their beds, seeking the sleep that wouldn't come. I saw tired hearts, agitated minds, wounded souls, but I also saw the river flowing to each of these people, offering healing, peace, and rest. I saw you, my dear soul, at this very moment. I saw how you came to this story carrying worries, fears, pains, but I also saw how the river has already begun to flow in your heart, how its sacred waters are already touching the deepest wounds of your soul. The river is not just a beautiful story to make you sleep. It is real, it is powerful, it is here now. While you listen to these words, while your heart opens to receive what I am offering, the river is flowing through you, carrying away everything you no longer need to carry. Feel how your muscles relax, how your breathing becomes deeper and more rhythmic. Feel how the thoughts that spun endlessly begin to calm, how the anxiety that squeezed your chest dissolves in the waters of peace. It's not your imagination, it's not just a sensation. It's the real power of divine love transforming your life at this very moment. The river is not in a hurry, it doesn't force anything. It simply offers, constantly, tirelessly, its healing power. And when you surrender to this power, when you stop fighting and start trusting, you will discover that the rest you seek so much is not somewhere distant. It is here, now, flowing through you like a river of peace. You no longer need to carry alone the burdens you brought to this night. You no longer need to fight against insomnia, against anxiety, against the pains that hurt your heart. The river is here to receive all of this, to transform all of this, to give you, in return, the rest your soul so desires. Allow this to happen. Allow the river to flow through you, carrying away everything that needs to be carried away, bringing everything that needs to be brought. Eternal rest is not just for after death. It can begin here, now, in this moment of surrender and trust. When the time came for me to leave that sacred place, I knew I wasn't really departing. The river would continue flowing, its waters would continue healing, and its power would continue, reaching all hearts that sought true rest. But before leaving, I wanted to leave a promise for all those who would find the river through the ages. I sat for the last time on its bank and spoke not just to the waters, but to each soul that would one day come seeking peace in that place. I promise, I said with a clear and firm voice, that this river will never dry up. Its waters will flow through the centuries, reaching each heart that needs healing, each mind that seeks peace, each soul that yearns for true rest. I touched the water's surface with my hands and felt a deep connection, not just with that place, but with all places. Where people sought sleep and couldn't find it, where hearts cried out for peace and found no answer. Whenever someone lies in their bed and seeks the rest that doesn't come, I continued, the waters of this river will flow to them. Whenever someone closes their eyes and surrenders their worries to the Father, healing will begin to happen. Whenever someone chooses to trust instead of fight, chooses to surrender instead of control, chooses to rest instead of worry, the river will be there. I left in that place, not just a promise, but part of my own heart. Each person who found the river would also find a piece of my love, a fragment of my peace, a portion of my rest. And now, as you listen to these words, the promise is fulfilled. The river is flowing through you, its waters are touching your heart. Its current is carrying away everything that needs to be carried away. It's not just a beautiful story. It's not just a poetic metaphor. It's a spiritual reality that can transform your life at this very moment. Feel how your body completely relaxes. Feel how your shoulders release, how your jaw unclenches, hands open and relax. Feel how your mind stops racing and begins to float gently, like a leaf on the surface of a calm river. You no longer need to fight. You no longer need to worry. You no longer need to carry alone the burdens you brought to this night. The river is here, flowing through you, offering everything your soul needs. The sleep that comes now is not just rest for the body, but rest for the soul. It's the sleep of those who know they are not alone, who have someone caring for them, who can surrender their worries to hands more capable than their own. Sleep with the certainty that the river will continue flowing through the night. Sleep, knowing that each of your breaths is accompanied by my love. Sleep, trusting that tomorrow will be a new day, full of new opportunities, new blessings, new reasons to smile. The eternal promise is this: you will never be alone. The river of divine peace will always flow through your life, offering healing when you need it, rest when you are tired, hope when you are discouraged. Close your eyes now and allow the river to do its work. Allow it to carry away all the worries of the day, all the pains of the heart, all the tensions of the body. Allow it to bring, in return, the peace that surpasses all understanding, the rest that completely restores, the love that heals all wounds. My dear soul, our journey by the sacred river comes to an end, but the river itself never stops flowing. It will continue running through your life, offering its healing and rest whenever you need it. Remember this story when anxiety tries to steal your peace. Remember this river when insomnia tries to steal your rest. Remember me when you feel you are alone facing life's challenges. The river is always here, always available, always ready to receive your burdens and give you the peace you seek so much. You are not just a listener to this story, you are part of it. You are one of the people who found the river, who experienced its healing, who discovered its power. Sleep now with the certainty that you are completely loved, completely cared for, completely protected. The river of divine peace flows through you at this moment, carrying away all anxiety, all worry, all pain that hurts your heart. May your sleep be deep and restorative. May your dreams be gentle and full of hope. May you wake tomorrow renewed, strengthened and full of the peace that only I can give. I will be with you through the night, guarding your sleep, protecting your dreams, preparing blessings for the new day that will come. Rest in my arms, my dear soul. You are safe, you are loved, you are home. The river never stops flowing, and my love for you never diminishes. Sleep in peace, knowing that everything is in my hands. Good night, my dear soul. May the river of divine peace continue flowing through you today, tomorrow, and always. Take a deep breath once more. Let all the air out slowly. Allow your body to surrender completely to the mattress. Feel how each muscle relaxes, how each thought calms, how each worry is carried away by the gentle current of the sacred river. ... You are completely safe, completely loved. ... Completely at peace. ... The river of divine healing flows through you at this moment, carrying away everything that no longer serves, bringing everything your soul needs. ... Sleep now. Sleep in peace. ... Sleep knowing you are not alone. Sleep in the certainty of eternal love that never fails. The river continues flowing, always flowing. ... Always healing, always bringing peace. ... Good night, my dear soul. Sleep with Jesus. Sleep in the river that carries away all anxiety.